Welcome back, everybody, again to Love and Action TV and podcast, Deconstruction Junction. I am Dr. Flo. That is Tara Priolo. Let me introduce myself. I'm an online coach and mentor, teaching artist, and pretty cool cat who encourages, equips, and empowers everyone to live their bold dream by using their talent, time, and treasures for good in the world. And of course, every week I'm joined by the most fabulously talented, fabulously talented Tara Paolo Studio. Introduce yourself to the folks.
Hello, folks. I need to know from you. Do you wave like this or do you wave like this? I need to know. I'm Tara Priolo. I'm your resident white-facing biracial multi-passionate musician, and I talk about the ish that nobody wants to talk about and push you to do the same. Listen, I feel like we have a banger today.
Be easy how you say bye in front of these people. You'll get more of my cousins proposing to you.
Well, that's true. Jeez. But I'm not pregnant anymore, so...
The lure may not be there. If you all want to be one of our panelists or one of our guest hosts, you're more than welcome to DM either of us. We want bold voices on this year, and we cannot wait to have you in the amazing hot seat with us. Tara's up first with the first slide. What's going on?
I am. So you can see my response. I agree and I don't. And I wanted to bring this because I know that in last year, if you all had been watching, we did have some conversations about consistency and the word consistency. And so I agree and I don't. But here's the blurb from I'm Patricked or Patrick T, whatever. Consistency culture sucks. We've gone from artists taking decades to craft something great to expecting a follow-up as soon as possible. Your video went viral. Better have another one ready next week. Dropped a hit movie? Cool. Where's the sequel? Sequel. Everyone wants more, and they want it now. I want it now. But creativity isn't an endless conveyor belt. So, do you want to share your thoughts first? Because obviously I've had more time to think about this and have varying opinions.
I'm going to just jump in and say I call it microwave culture. On this idea that we used to slow cook our corn in the kettle to make popcorn, and now we have microwave popcorn that goes in, and 3 minutes later you've got an experience. I think it's an inferior experience. If you've ever had homemade popcorn on the stove, you'll know that there's a difference between that and the microwavable stuff. But I do think that we put ourselves under a pressure to outperform our last best moment. And some of us, just for today, have gotten as good as we're going to get, in this phase of our life or in this moment of our lives. And expecting that endless conveyor belt thing to be real for us is a pressure that we may or may not need. Where did you land with this?
Yeah, I mean, I agree that there is a sense of like, you better have the next one ready. If your video went viral, you better have another one. Like, I hear that. But I don't. The part where I really have a problem is but creativity isn't an endless conveyor belt. Your creativity is endless. Like, you have access to your creativity at any time. It is consistently there. And so that was like the part where I was like, I think you're calling the wrong thing the conveyor belt, because creativity is an endless conveyor belt. The content may not be an endless conveyor belt, or virality might not be an endless conveyor belt, but the rest, the creativity part, your art part, the thing that causes you to create, that's endless. So that's why I agreed and I disagreed, because I do think that like this, and I don't think it's consistency culture, right? Because I think it's necessary to share over and over again what you believe and share at least aspects of your creativity, even if that's not online. so that people understand who you are, right? You have to share elements of who you are. But I like the take that you said about the microwave culture, because I think that's what this person is actually talking about, but like almost mislabeling consistency and creativity.
Yeah, you're gonna have to be consistent in your life to get anything good. If you go with my idea that everyone is a creative and just living itself is a creative force and act, you can't stop your creative force that is your life.
Right.
Tara reaching over right now to handle the kid in a specialized way is a very creative force and act. Me sitting here online with her and communicating to the hundreds of you that will watch this month, if not thousands, creative act. Me taking a breath in right now is a co-creative act with the oxygen and the air that I need in order to live.
Right.
So,
And y'all bring, like, if you want more breathing exercises, y'all better be coming to the Daily Boost. Y'all better be listening on the newsletter. If you're listening to this and you haven't ever listened to one of our Daily Boosts, there's like literally over, what do you think, 400 episodes of Daily Boost? I mean, like, there's a lot of Daily Boost. Y'all can go find it. But we have been doing breathing exercises since last Sunday. So go.
can I also, yeah, and join our vocal clinics and our public speaking clinics, all that. We're always talking about the breath. Tara got me obsessed with the breath 3 years ago. I got the breath bug. It bit me,
USA.
and I use it to both elevate and save the dishes I make creatively in the world. I don't want to come for Patrick T or Patrick, as you called him, but I do feel like this person might be at war with themselves creatively. They
Yeah.
seem like me. They must they could they see that we're in a popcorn microwavable endless conveyor belt, easy come, instantaneous gratification kind of society. But they also seem to not like being consistent. Like
Right.
and we've all been at odds with like, yo, I got a big dream I want to do, but you know, I don't really want to be consistent in it. So let me just blame consistency culture for the reason why I can't handle the idea that I've got to be creative all the time to actually consider myself a creative.
Right.
I'm going to be
And like,
artistically creative all the time. If I want.
consistency doesn't mean frequency. Like, I think we sometimes conflate, collectively, we sometimes conflate a lot of words. And so consistency, for me, right? I feel like I'm not a performer because I don't perform that often. But I have not had a year in the last 10, 15 years, maybe even longer, where I didn't have a public performance at least one time that year. That is consistency. It's just not frequently, right? It's at a frequency of once a year. And so, like, I think we also have to have that discussion of, like, sure, you can view consistency, but I disagree. I guess I no. Because they're talking about frequency. They're talking about that, which is not consistency, because you can have consistency without a large amount of frequency. So that's a thought. It's a conflicting thought. There's lots of conflicting thoughts in there to me. So I hope that they explore it deeper. Um, I should get up in the comments of that one and see what people were saying in the comments, but I didn't. So there's that.
Yeah. Yeah. I would be very interested to hear where Patrick is now. I'm going to jump in our programming over into slide 13
Whoop.
because that's all today. I know I'm jumping way ahead, but
Well, buckle your seatbelts, y'all. You actually just saw slides 4 through 14. Okay. Just kidding.
they did not. They saw no such thing. I just want, since we're already talking about consistency, I want to talk about commitments, which is one of my topics today. And ask a question to the room and let us know in the chat if you're here today and co-creating this magic with us. But do you find, Praolo, that commitments are easier to make or less easier to make than they were for you in the past? As it relates to consistency culture, do you feel like commitments make people less reticent to jump forward into coalition building and community. I just wanted to riff a little bit today about commitments. I'm finding in my work as I'm currently doing recruitment efforts that some people are really, really on board with the idea of collaborating and building and coming together online and community and upliftment. But then it kind of stops there. Like the idea is wonderful, but the execution of the idea is actually going to require a little bit of linear time. And that's when we start having a bit of a gulp in our throats. And I'm trying to figure out, especially as we come and move forward under another interesting presidency, um, how that's going to affect people. Do you think that they're going to? I'm loading you up with all the questions. Do you think that they're going to like commit more as an act of resistance, or tire out and say, "I'm exhausted by the news cycle. I can't come to your joy revival"?
Well, I think this relates. So I think that was an all or nothing that you just did.
Okay, sorry. Okay, yeah. Trauma response is all or nothing thinking, y'all. So
Right.
we're trying to come out of the black and white in our network. We are in Deconstruction Junction, so great call. 2,000 points to the multi-passionate biracial in Minnesota. Yes, because when I say things that way, that turns up the heat on people who are considering perhaps coming into what you're doing, what I'm doing, what the collective is doing.
Right. There's a middle ground, right? And so I think, I mean, to answer some of your questions and to answer none of your questions, to do it all or nothing, I think that, and there was a TikTok video that I was watching that had to do with like definitions of things and like, like you can't like you can say a word and it doesn't mean what you think it means, or like other people don't have the same understanding of that word. And so I think this relates back to the consistency and back to the word commitment. It's like different people have a different definition of what commitment is. To me, if I say yes, I will absolutely be at something, I will be at that something and I will be early. Now, another person could say, yes, I will absolutely be at something, and they're going to arrive 20 minutes late, but they still win. And so they're still meeting their commitment. Right. So those are two different ideologies of what commitment is. So, to your analogy, some people are going to commit to spending daily events with us, collectively and individually. And that's still a commitment. Other people are going to come in and say, I only want to see you people once every 3 months. That's still a commitment, right? Somebody's going to come in and donate $50 one month or every 6 months. And another person's going to say, but I'm going to give you $50 once a month. So like these are commitments that people are actively making, but it's just a different definition. You have food. I don't know what your deal is. Well, I do know what your deal is.
They are committed to being free in the moment.
They are committed to arguing with me at 8 months old, which is going really well for mom because mom doesn't understand what the 8-month-old requires. Because I don't even know that the 8-month-old knows what they require. So what? It's in your pants. You can pick that up. We're eating banana puffs, y'all. Banana puffs. They're cute. And apparently they can have half a cup a day. The more you know. Anyway, so yeah, I think that I just think commitment looks different on everyone. And while I take issue with people who commit and then don't do what they say, right? Like I really take issue with that. I take issue with people that are like, yes, I will absolutely be there, and then they don't show up. Like that to me, that's bad form. And that can happen on any number of levels. But
wait. So would you say, I heard this in the community earlier this week. I won't say who said it, but
Sure.
it's fine. Someone said to me, and I kind of respected it, maybe even fully, but let me finish. They were like, I don't make promises because
Yeah.
if I make a promise, then I'm a person who keeps promises. So I'm not going to make that promise to you. However, I'm going to do the best that I can. I kind of respect that more than a person who kind of leads me down this path of a shoulda, coulda, woulda. And
Right.
then,
It's like the, I promise I'll always love you. You cannot, you literally, you can pretend that you're going to commit to that promise, but you cannot guarantee that. So when you're promising or when you're committing to something, but you know that there might be a barrier to that participation or fulfilling that commitment, you probably should not make the commitment in that way, you know? I just really like I think maybe for me, like why I come hard about commitments and showing up places is A, because I was raised by a military man, but B, because I think it's a level of respect for other people. And I think that like if I make a promise that I can't keep, for instance, to Dr. Flo, like I can try my best to do something, but it depends on other people. So I may not be able to actually manifest that commitment, right? Then I should be honest about that with Dr. Flo, because there's a level of respect between us that I am giving to him in that moment. So I think for me, what? Why are you yelling at me? You have one in your hand. You have one in your hand. Here. No, get it. Um, so yeah, I come hard about it because I think we can treat people with more respect and more kindness. Just in general, I think it's really easy to get super upset with people. And something we'll talk about, well, we talked about yesterday in co-working is like, and I talked about my stories this morning, is there is a desperate need to like, our society tells us that the best way to create community, the best way to belong is to exclude instead of include. And so we look for all of these ways to exclude instead of include. And this is one of my ways, right? Like if I find, and Dr. Flo knows what I'm referencing here, there are people that I've come across that make commitments and then don't show up. And when they do that multiple times, I no longer want anything to do with them. But that's an exclusionary response to that, right? And so I think it's just for us, those people that are asking other people for their commitment, right? Whether that be monetary or time wise or emotionally, right? I think for us, our response has to also be filled with the amount of respect that those people are giving us, right? That we have to, instead of being like, well, then you're out because you can't come daily, or you can't come weekly, or you can't pay me weekly, or whatever. Like, our job is to respond to that and say, well, what can you commit to? What feels good to you to commit to? Even if that's once every 6 months, or once a year, or every 5 years, or whatever that is. And that also frees us up emotionally and in an aspect like physically, because we're not chasing people, and we're not bashing them for their commitments or for their non-committal natures, because there's a lot of people out there that are non-committal. I don't think that I think that a whole lot of people are gonna do what they did during every presidency that I've been alive for, um, which is that people are they're very excited right at the beginning, right? They're very excited, whether they're angry or whether they're happy that their person won. And then because they have activated in an unstable emotion, in an unstable feeling, to get into it, y'all, we have resources at lovedandlovable.bio.link, lovedandlovable.bio.link, lovedandlovable.bio.link. That is unsustainable because you have activated on an unstable emotion. You've activated in an unstable place, right? So instead, to maintain your activation, which we need more of, right? We need more activation in order to liberate the world, whether or not you think that that liberation depends on Donald Trump or not. We have to have an environment where we are activating on something that is absolutely stable, right? And so I think I said the other day in a tweet, I prefer to activate out of love. I prefer to, and I'm learning how to activate out of inclusion, like true inclusion and true representation and true diversity and true conversation, right? And those places are more stable and will continue to bring the fire so that it's not eternal burnout, right? It's not that because I think when we commit to frequency that is too great for us, or we're activating out of those unstable places, we wind up in a situation where then we're beating ourselves up for overcommitting, right? And we're in burnout. And the only thing that is a surety at the end of the day is the burnout, because you have activated in a way that is unsustainable. And we need less people in burnout, the hashtag thanks capitalism, and more people in more stable places, which is hard under capitalism. Don't get us wrong. It's hard. That's a hard thing to do. Yeah.
Wow, Tara. And also, every time today that you've said the word frequency, I know that you're talking about how often we can commit. But it keeps taking me to like the energetics and like the vibe of it. Like, make sure you all this year can commit both to the frequency, the timetable of what you want to commit to, but also to like the vibe of it as well. Because if the vibe ain't vibing, you may not want to be participating. Because sometimes we tire ourselves out because we try to go with the vibe that's not really aligned, and then we end up working against either the people we're working with or ourselves. All right, my next topic's about New Year ideas. Let me know in the comments over on YouTube or Facebook, wherever you're watching, if you all are New Year's resolutions kind of people. I'm not. I'm a lifelong learner. I choose to grow myself and grow my life as often as I can every day. Some of you who come here know that I'm a 1% better kind of person. I believe that if you get 1% better every day, incrementally over the year, you'll be 365% better. So today I wanted to open a discussion about New Year ideas. Are they feeling like something that is accomplishable for you, or are we already 3 days into the overwhelm?
I love that you brought up the frequency and frequency. I love that, because I think, and as you said, just to reiterate and like high five onto it, uh, and to use an example that just happened to you recently, is like the master classes, right? 2 times a day master classes sounded really good until you were like, I can't keep up that frequency because I'm not aligned with that frequency, right? Like, and I think a lot of us get started on things and we're like, I'm going to do it daily. I'm going to do it 3 times a day. I'm going to post 14 times a day, and that's going to feel, like I'm going to do it. But you didn't check in with, how are you actually feeling about that? You know, how does your body feel about that? And I think that's what a lot of us do with our New Year's resolutions. Quite frankly, I think we get these big grand dreams, and I'm not saying don't dream big, because y'all know in the Goal Getter, I tell you to dream bigger. I tell you to make your 10-year goals bigger. I tell you to make your 10-year goals your 5-year goals bigger. I tell you to make your year goals bigger. I tell you to
The
right
stretch goal.
to disable the timeline, right? And so I think with New Year's resolutions, what a lot of times happens is like there's 2 things that I feel like happen. Either you thought of the resolution back in June through December, but you decided that since it wasn't the new year, you just weren't going to start. You'd wait until the new year to have a resolution. Well, now your resolution that you were aligned with back in August is stale and no longer important to you because you didn't start on it. So then you make the resolution on New Year's Day, and then you're not excited about it and you're not aligned with it. And so you stop doing it by day 3, right? And then the other type of person, I think, is a person that shows up on New Year's and hasn't really done any reflection on the past year, and hasn't done the audit that we did with some wonderful cohort members. And hasn't, said, I'm going to leave this behind in the previous year, and is really committed to going from 0 to 6,000, right? And just ends up not like and then I think that's where the overwhelm sets in that you were just talking about, right? Is like that goal is so big, or that thing, that resolution is so big that then you're like, oh my God, but there's this step. And this just happened to me today. I was talking to somebody about somebody was like, well, where does the foundation fit? Like, do you want to start that now or do you want to wait? And I was like, well, for me, it had, I gave my whole song and dance and I started getting into the overwhelm, and they were like, okay, what can you actually do today? And I was like, oh, today I can do this. Today I can start like organizing this. Today I can go practice. You know what I mean? And that feels a lot better. So, I just think, and I say this to people all the time, and Dr. Flo has heard it 100 times. I say, don't go from 0 to multiple times a day, or don't go from 0 to daily, because you will inevitably not succeed. Because you weren't aligned with the daily process. Now, sometimes, very rarely, I have seen it succeed, right? But most of the time, people fall right off of it. So I just caution y'all to check in with yourself. I have big ideas too that I want to accomplish in 2024, but the only way that I'm going to or 2025, whatever year we're in, but the only way that I'm going to accomplish those ideas is by continuing to align myself with the little steps in between. Yeah.
Yeah, Tara. And also staying committed to not beating yourself up every step of the journey. Like, a lot of us are overthinkers. And so if you are self doubting yourself every step of the journey, you're going to make it exponentially harder than what it needed to be. So I'm trying to do with what one of the online celebrities said. She said, I think her name is Dochi. I'm not cool enough, but she's one of the new singers.
I
Dochi.
have heard of Dochi, but I have never listened to a song, honey. Like,
Child, I'm not cool enough. My partner probably knows who she is and
I'm
one or two
old.
of the songs. Dinosaur am
Dinosaur.
I.
Checking in.
Um, Brontosaurus.
T-Rex.
Anyway, the young lady in the reels this week said that she moves before her self doubt can settle in. And I was like, in moments of no harm, and if you feel safe to do so, that feels wonderful. Like, I've often lingered. You talk about the August resolution and things. We've lingered around in our dreams for so long that the self doubt has set in, and we've talked ourselves out of what we really want. I don't want to do that this year. I want to feel something that feels good and go with the yes of it, as opposed to beating myself up through that process.
Yeah. And I think for me, like, back to commitments, like there was, I was thinking today, I was like, oh, okay, I posted on Lift Every Voice yesterday, I posted on Lift Every Voice today, like maybe I should just make it a 365 challenge of like posting onto my Lift Every Voice Substack once a day. And then I was like, why do I need to make that commitment? Like, why? Like, let me show up in my alignment, and like right now today I have a ton to say, right? So I'm going to go in and I'm going to make some things and I'm going to slow drip them, and I might not feel that way next Friday, and that's okay, right? It's just it's not requiring me, back to the creativity endless conveyor, right? It's not requiring me to show up in that all the time.
Yeah, and we got to decide right now in the present moment whether or not we truly believe we are enough or not. I'm always trying to overcompensate or over deliver on my gifts, or over prove to y'all that I'm smart, that I is kind, that I is important. I'm always trying to do that so much. And if we're not moving from wholeness or from I am enough, that's the reason why we don't feel fulfilled fully in the things we're doing. And then we're always trying to outdo what's already good enough. We're exhausting ourselves because we're not settling in on the idea that what I bring just for today is enough, and being content with it is or our lack of content is the reason why we seesaw in the ways we do.
Right. Agreed.
All right, let's move on to this big boob lady. 1 second. I don't know what her boob's out.
I think this is a different take than the one that I sent you. So just y'all, this person is in the forefront of literally a dark-skinned Black woman was like, you are racist. Not in the systemic sense, but like, this is the lady that y'all, if you're on my side of TikTok, you have been hearing about endlessly, because She got up on the whole internet and was like, if the first teat you suckled was from your oppressor, your opinion doesn't matter. She got up on the whole internet and said that. And it has gone viral. And she has since, I think, made an apology, but she was also live last night, like hollering and jawing off about how horrible white mamas are and biracial people are. And anyway, it's a whole thing. So take that with a grain of salt. But I thought this take was very interesting and not necessarily about it. So hit it up.
No ethical consumption under capitalism, but if you enjoy something under capitalism, then you're unethical. You are a sinner because you were born of the flesh, but if you enjoy the flesh, then you're a sinner. And that could be why it's so hard to receive the message. It's starting to sound like conservative Christian messaging in different font.
One more time.
No ethical consumption under capitalism, but if you enjoy something under capitalism, then you're unethical. You are a sinner because you were born of the flesh. But if you enjoy the flesh, then you're a sinner. And that could be why it's so hard to receive the message. It's starting to sound like conservative Christian messaging in different font.
Okay, listen, I knew you would like this take, child. So you go.
It's all habababa. It is all habababa. This is why, like, my life opened up when I realized how all the same us humans are. Y'all know I came from the cult of Christ, the whole cult of Christ, where we walked around every day in our lives telling other people, oh my God, what's the rating on this?
PG-13.
Telling people how to live, how to express their feelings, how to receive and give pleasure. PG-13. And because of that policing of our bodies, you can see how we got into a mental conundrum and confusion because does God love me as I am or not, girl?
Right. There's no way to be right underneath these stipulations. And what I love about this take is that it is connecting religion and how much, particularly as she says, conservative Christianism, conservatism. I need more of you to realize how much capitalism is just Christianity. Like, you even say under God. Our money has God on it. Like, I need more of us to understand that is.
Wait. Pause. We got to break it down for the class. You're talking about the commingling and the heavy. You're talking about the heavy connect and overlap between the religion of Christianity and capitalism, how they are intertwined. That's the word I'm looking for. It seems like we lost a mom to mommy, and we'll be back after this 2-minute break. All right. We pause for moms here. We pause for deer. We pause for possums. We pause for raccoons.
We pause for touchdowns. Yes, yes. Apologies, y'all. My child just decided to take a 3-minute nap and then wake up grumpy. So that was nice. Really enjoy that facet. Anyway, back to capitalism.
It's a special feature. It's a special feature of babies. I've never had one, but I see it every day through the Pratt-Olo household. I love to see it. You were pushing us or nudging us into the overlap and the intertwined nature of the religion Christianity as we know it, and pretty much any major religion that's telling people what to do, and capitalism.
Yeah. I think I really need y'all to look at how they function, and why do they keep preaching to us that there needs to be a separation of church and state? Why do they keep saying that? Is it because the church and the state are connected and built off of each other and mirror each other in a lot of ways because they are built on hierarchies? And I think there's a lot of circular there's just a lot of circular conversations, even in the anti-capitalist, leftist, abolitionist spaces of and to her point, to the first one that she said, right? There's no ethical consumption under capitalism. Okay, but how are we then supposed to eat? Okay, how are we then supposed to get water? Okay, how are we then supposed to shower? Okay, so you now you're telling us that we should not live in our houses, right? We should go out and be in nature. Okay, well, most places in the United States, at least, you have to pay for a plot of land or a national park pass or a camping pass. You have to pay for the tent. So now you're engaging in capitalism, maybe in a cheap way, right? Or maybe you're getting a hand-me-down, but somebody engaged in capitalism along the way. And then, okay, so now you want to plant something, right? But you either have to go buy the seeds or you have to wait for the plant to come to a seeded state, and then you need to replant the seeds. Okay, well, then you need water run to your house. Okay, well, the person that's going to run the water to you, okay, you have to pay them in some way. And more than likely, they're steeped in capitalism. So there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. There's no ethical way to sell under capitalism, right? And I have this, I see anti-capitalists out there all the time who are then selling a $5,000 program. And I'm like, I don't know how I would square that. And Dr. Flo and I have continuously been having discussions on we've both made thousands of dollars on certain things. And we need to go back into that to live, right? Dr. Flo needs a car. He needs a marketing budget. We've gotten some wonderful donors in the last couple days, and we thank you so much. But that's still capitalism, right? It pains me. Back to something that Christiana Smith talks about, that we have an imagination in our heads that doesn't include this horrible system or these horrible systems, right, of religion and capitalism and or government, right? Not to be that person, YouTube, don't take us down. But we have that vision of it without all of these harmful things that are put on top of us every day. And it's really painful to show up and see people that are using those beliefs of anti-religion, anti-capitalist, but then engaging in it and claiming that that's ethical, and claiming that they're engaging in it in an ethical way by charging obscene amounts of money to people that probably don't have it, right? So, and what's an obscene amount of money? It might be $20 to you, honey. It might be $5 to you. It might, but it just, it's an ongoing discussion. But
I'm in the school of let's allow the people like Bezos and them, the people who won't feel it, let them pay for it. The people who will not feel the cost of universal health care, they should pay for it. The people who won't feel it. We talk a lot on our network about the apples that fall off your cart. If you got it, then why not pay it forward for the people who don't have it? You can't, my father used to always say before he died, you can't take it with you. You can't take it money with you. You might as well live your experiences. None of us are King Tut. We're not getting buried with our Bank of America debit card. So why are we holding on to that? But the Buddha was very clear about this. It's greed, hatred, anger, and delulu
Delulu, child.
that causes these kind of rifts inside and outside of us, especially when the money's all made up to. It's just really, really messed up. But I'm looking for, and you're looking for, and we're going to find the people who have the abundance. And we have people in our community. Back to what Tara said earlier. Thanks to all of our donors and sponsors who come through to help us elevate our messages in the world. It's going to take everybody throwing into the stone soup to have a great kind of meal. The next topic of tonight, and thanks to everybody who's watching. We see y'all out there. I'm Dr. Flo. This is Tara Olo. Once a week we gather, and what is our most popular offering actually on our vlog and podcast? Hundreds of people monthly tune into this episode. We just get in here, pick some topics, and just talk about the things that we've been thinking about, and we pick them apart and deconstruct them, hopefully in a way that helps you also make sense of whatever you're going through in the world. I want to stop here shortly just to talk about censorship. Earlier in the week, I went hard in the paint about the selfishness and the entitlement of my lighter counterparts, my lighter melanated human counterparts. And I went in about the selfishness, the reckless behavior, the mental illness, and all sorts of other things that is white supremacist delulu in our time. And we just talked about capitalism, or as I call it, crapitalism, another delusional thing perpetuated by people who are way lighter than me. Every day, turn on Fox or MSNBC or whatever you want. You'll see what I'm talking about. The receipts are there. What I want to speak to is TikTok once again called it hate speech, my truth, and then dismantled my ability to speak about my truth on their platform for 7 days. Now, while no one monkey stops the show, and clearly I'm still platformed here, encouraging, equipping, and empowering people here in our network, I don't think that we truly have a full grasp on what censorship looks like in 2025 and how it could really cause harm to people throughout the world and also on your block. What say you about censorship and perhaps what you've seen as it relates to like the way in which I am held to a higher standard online than say a InfoWars?
Or say even, okay, the black man that was in my DMs yesterday who was actively transphobic in a whole bunch of comments, and I reported those comments to Facebook, and Facebook said they were fine, right? And so what I would say about censorship is if you think it can't happen to you, I assure you it can. I assure you it can. In the same way that if you think Donald Trump ain't coming for you, Donald Trump and his ilk, child, I assure you they can and they will. I assure you of that. So I think, I there's two things. Yeah, maybe two, maybe three. One being that I just want to remind you all not to trust any of these platforms with your whole heart, right? Like, we shouldn't be worn out by having to be on so many platforms, and you don't have to put your all into any platform, but just know that they can be taken away, whether through censorship or the ban that's coming, or the somebody pressed the wrong button at Meta. That's happened twice in the last 3 years. Like these platforms can so easily go away, and so you want a footprint that's going to be there. regardless, right? So you should be crafting in person conversation. You should have people's phone numbers. You should have people's emails. Google is not likely to go away, folks. The government seems perfectly fine with a Chinese-owned massive internet company, but not so much an app. So that's what I would say. Firstly, as Dr. Flo pointed to, and how he's here platforming with me and graciously allowing me on his stage and partnering with me weekly, right? So now to the censorship aspect of you personally, and you as a Black man, a Black queer radical man on the internet, you know, there is no safe platform, much like there is no safe platform for our Black trans disabled sisters, right? There is no platform that is going to uplift their voices. And so while sending Dr. Flo money is great, and please continue to do so, right, for this commissary, what you can also do as a lighter skinned person, and I swear if y'all call us light brights one more time, I'm gonna lose my ish, because some of y'all are calling us light brights and you the same color, you just happen to have two Black parents. But I'm gonna hold my tongue on that. Barely. Let me pull it back in, child. Anyway, what you can do if you so happen to have lighter skin or you have more privilege, right? In any aspect, right? I'm a cisgender human. So me sharing a trans person does a lot for that trans person, because I'm taking up my platform with a more marginalized voice when I know that my platform gets more traction. Right. This is and to bring up another program that we have, adopt a Black artist, right? We're doing that because our platforms, Love and Action Network, now that we have access back to it, and my platform have more access to the mainstream because the algorithms are not actively against me because I look light. And some of y'all would like to believe that I'm white until you don't, you know? So you promote me in your algorithm, okay? And there's the Adopt a Black artist. So I just encourage you all that when you hear these stories of censorship, you don't go, oh, what did he do? What did he say? He must have said something stupid and hateful and da da da. Because I heard y'all, I've seen y'all get up on this whole internet and say things like that. You do not need to know the story. What you need to know is what they post, and then you need to share it and amplify it on your own platform. And every single platform makes it very easy to share. So y'all got to stop being scared and put your money where your mouth is. I yield.
Just simply put your love in action. And we're going to do a campaign soon about all of the free ways that people can support. That share is free. That like is free. Emailing a person telling them that you ran into our programming and it really moved you in a powerful way. That's all free ways in which humans could align and support. But yet we don't. We don't. Sometimes we've experienced in our community that people feel bad because they feel like we're outworking them, because we're out here with our scrollers and things. I'm not going to share them until I can get my art or my creativity on the same level that I get. Y'all know all of these games that we play with one another when we simply could be sharing.
Right.
It's something that we're going to teach the baby.
Yes.
It's something that always will benefit us.
Yes. And the amount of like I think back to 2020 and 2021 and how Instagram was like the raging platform. People were sharing to their stories and tagging in their stories, and like it was the place to be. We were actually supporting each other, y'all, in 2020 in the middle of the pandemic. And I just need you all to remember that time and quit being so damn scared of sharing perhaps a bad take, right? Like this obsession with individuality is a part of capitalism. Capitalism taught you that. Capitalism told you that you can only pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And yes, you have to do your inner work. But you also need community. You also need to heal in community. And in order to have community, you have to be supportive. You have to communicate. And so by isolating yourself in the online sphere, by not sharing anybody else, by not having a conversation with anybody else, by not answering somebody else's question box, by not throwing a like, by not throwing a save, by not throwing a repost, That's isolation. And that's harmful to you and it's harmful to them.
Isolation is the seed of depression.
Right.
Spiritual isolation, emotional isolation, physical isolation, go down the list, folks. Once you start cocooning and putting yourself behind a wall, you're on your way to being an isolated, depressed person.
Right. And it's why a lot of y'all hate social media right now. It's because you isolated yourself. It's why a lot of y'all are like, I got to take a social media break. You like to pretend that it's because you might get some hateful comments, but you know what? You can block those people. Your block finger can be stronger, okay? You can block those people. But you can't be scared to share other people, especially people that you claim to care about or claim to promote or claim to love.
Yeah, that's why when people they've stopped because they watched the podcast or heard the things and they know how I am these days in my ascension. But if you're not sharing my shit and supporting my causes or sending me some cash to elevate this thing or saying attaboy, we ain't got nothing to talk about. Because there's, like I said, there's 1,000 free things we could be doing in and outside of money, and yet we don't. So where we're moving to in this network and beyond is a put up or shut up kind of energy. Because the things we're asking for, we simply deserve, and they're available to us.
And what I'm them too.
Yes, and what I'm starting to do is ask people like, well, why couldn't I have it? You know, we do this here. Like, you know, oh, can you share that? You know, can you? And if the person's like, oh no, I'd rather not. You know, we used to keep our social media walls like completely clear of anyone who wasn't us. Then we were like, why do we do that? Why this is free? It can be taken at any moment. Why am I trying to mine? If you join us in the mornings for our Michael Singer podcast and morning affirmations, you're going to hear that me and mine and selfishness is also part of the suffering.
Right.
Okay, enough of that sermon. You want to set this up or just go play?
Let's just play.
I'm not going to say too much because I'm Nigerian and I don't want the ethnic nationalists to come get me. But Black people are so funny with how we as a community selectively decide to claim or not claim biracials based on whether we like or agree with them at the time. Hannah can't say nothing about Beyonce because her mom is white, but Barack Obama was black and representation for all of us. Mariah Carey is black somehow. Dwayne Johnson is not. Bob Marley is black. Kendrick Lamar's wife is black, but Drake is not. And all these people I mentioned, to my knowledge, have white moms, and they all look biracial, like they look mixed. It's about proximity to the culture. Hannah is literally descendant of African-American historical icons, history makers, change makers. She was raised in and around that legacy, and it very much shows in the way she speaks about things on here and the work she does in real life. Meanwhile, Barack Obama was raised by his white mom around white people. Never heard anybody question his blackness, whether he could speak on blackness, this, that, and the third. Kamala Harris was raised by her Indian mom. Her Jamaican dad was a deadbeat. She only started getting into black culture like that when she went to Howard University and HBCU. Y'all was just calling people anti-black for critiquing her a couple of months ago. So what is it? Wish y'all could just have the discussion like normal people without doing the whole race science. If you don't have 4 black grandparents, oh, because your mom white and you're mixed and you look mixed and you're light skinned and that's why you can. But Beyonce look mixed. Beyonce, her light skin and her hazel eyes and her loose curl pattern, that don't have nothing to do with the way you're defending her the way you are. Does she look like you? I don't understand. Whole time Beyonce's entire mom's side of the family looked like Hannah. Oh, it's very selective. Y'all only want to pull out the colorism analysis when it serves a certain agenda, and that's what I'll say.
One more time for the people in the back, please.
Hang on, you got it. The beginning of it. She goes, "I'm not going to say too much." Roll it again.
Oh.
I'm not going to say too much because I'm Nigerian and I don't want the ethnic nationalists to come get me. But Black people are so funny with how we as a community selectively decide to claim or not claim biracials based on whether we like or agree with them at the time. Hannah can't say nothing about Beyonce because her mom is white, but Barack Obama was black and representation for all of us. Mariah Carey is black somehow. Dwayne Johnson is not. Bob Marley is black. Kendrick Lamar's wife is black,
but Drake is not. And all these people I mentioned, to my knowledge, have white moms, and they all look biracial, like they look mixed. It's about proximity to the culture. Hannah is literally descendant of African American historical icons, history makers, change makers. She was raised in and around that legacy, and it very much shows in the way she speaks about things on here and the work she does in real life. Meanwhile, Barack Obama was raised by his white mom around white people. Never heard anybody question his blackness, whether he could speak on blackness is that and the third. Kamala Harris was raised by her Indian mom. Her Jamaican dad was a deadbeat. She only started getting into black culture like that when she went to Howard University and HBCU. Y'all was just calling people anti-black for critiquing her a couple of months ago. So what is it? Wish y'all could just have the discussion like normal people without doing the whole race science. If you don't have 4 black grandparents, oh, because your mom white and you're mixed and you look mixed and you're light skinned and that's why you can. But Beyonce look mixed. Beyonce look mixed. Beyonce, her light skin and her hazel eyes and her loose curl pattern, that don't have nothing to do with the way you're defending her the way you are. Does she look like you? I don't understand. Whole time, Beyonce's entire mom's side of the family look like Hannah. Oh, it's very selective. Y'all only want to pull out the colorism analysis when it serves a certain agenda, and that's what I'll say.
Thank you, my dear. Thank you, my dear, so much. Listen, there is one thing that I disagree with her on, is that mixed people don't look any certain type of way. And if you all are like, I do think that this discussion is important. It comes up at least once a year on TikTok about like biracial right to speak on things, which I'm like, we're just humans. Like, can humans just like converse as long as we're not being rude? And Hannah was not being rude. Hannah was just literally like, it's a take I don't agree with. I don't agree with that Beyonce is a propagandist. I agree that she's a capitalist. I agree that she's gotten where she's gotten because she's light skinned, as this lady says. Same thing with Rihanna, folks. Like, we got to be honest. Like, name a dark black billionaire. Name one, and then talk to me. So
isn't Oprah though?
Do we consider Oprah dark? Is she a billionaire?
I mean, I'm convinced. We have the whole internet. One second.
Let's check our facts. But before we get really into it, because I got off topic, y'all have to know that like critiquing people's phenotypes and quote unquote phrenology is weird. That's a weird thing to do. Mixed people don't look a certain type of way. We don't have a certain type of like, we just don't. We all look a little bit different, and most of the time, like, I can clock a mixed person, but there are definitely mixed people out there. Like, I told Dr. Flo, we looked at Hannah the other day and we were like, we knew she wasn't white, but we maybe would have not guessed that she was black and white, right? And so like I just think that like there are a couple accounts that I want to shout out here, which is Biracial Unicorns on Instagram, as well as Mixed Millennials, and then there's Mixed in America. And those 3 accounts really celebrate biraciality and mixed race, and you know, and they really show the diversity within the mixed community. And I wish that the mixed community had the opportunity to come together as a mixed community. But we have the same problems that a lot of people are having. Like, the diaspora of mixed people is large, and that means there are a lot of wants. And so that just, it's a whole different conversation. But I just wanted to point out that she says that in her video. She's like, Hannah looks mixed. There is no definition of what looks mixed, because we can all be mixed with various things. To the 4 black grandparents comment, I have 1 native grandparent and 3 black ones. You know, like there are, yeah. There's just different looks, and we are mixed in different ways. And as we've learned about genetics, apparently not even siblings get the same amount of certain genetics in their systems. So that is not a true statement. So that's what I want to throw out there. But I would love to hear your take on the things.
My take is simple. And you talked about it earlier. People are so hell-bent on pushing people out of their group that they're not calling in love. And I'm trying to figure out where all these people are getting the time on TikTok and beyond to push a biracial person out of their group. Like, my energy towards any human that's loving is come in, get a meal, don't annoy me. And I don't understand why. except that I do, in that the racism that I was taught, or the prejudicial leanings I have towards people who don't look like me came from my father. My father was very much don't trust whitey. I now understand his rationale. However, it does not serve me to just be against everyone who doesn't look like me. And a lot of this energy that I'm seeing on TikTok is people just deciding that they want to wake up in the morning and hate on another human. That ain't ever going to be cool to me. Get a fucking life.
Right. And then and also don't then, after you've excluded Hannah and excluded biracials, because there are videos where there are hundreds of thousands of comments of Black people agreeing that about what what biracials can't be included in the discussion, excluding biracial people. I hate when people say biracials and Blacks and whites. I like, we're all people. Biracial people, I hate that. Black people, Asian people, we're people. I really, it's been interesting to see this discussion now that I've come to a place, like, have just recently come to a place, like, I just don't care. Like, y'all can call me white, y'all can call me Black. I am biracial. I'm biracial, and I like, I just can't care what you all think anymore. I cannot placate to either race. And some, like, Black people, some of you are going to dislike what I have to say. White people, some of you are going to dislike what I have to say. I'm still going to be for Black people, as I promote Black people on my platforms all of the time. You almost never see me share a white person on my feed or in my stories. Like, almost everything I share is Black. Okay?
Do they know what? Does your white facing audience or your lighter non-melanated audience, do they understand? Do you feel that they understand the reason why you focus on and highlight and center
I'm not
darker
sure.
people?
I'm not sure, but I'm going to make that explicitly clear over the next year. It's a goal of mine, because I do like these conversations, waking up and knowing that, like, there's hundreds of thousands of comments saying that biracial people, like, are less than because we have a white mom, or like whatever. Like, that is a tool of the master. And, like, I really, I need people to start realizing the ways in which we perpetuate hate to make ourselves feel superior. And then I want you to think about what that sounds like. Right? Because really, like, what does it sound like? It sounds like white supremacist Delulu, even though it's coming out the mouth of a Black person. And so that's not me saying, like, don't listen to Black people, because I believe that Black women, Black trans women, Black disabled trans women are the answer. Like, those are the people that we should be taking our revolution and our liberation philosophies from. Those are the people, right? However, those people can still have bad takes, and they can still cause harm, and they can still perpetuate things that are part of white supremacy, because we are all living in this culture, which is why we see so many Black people right now being, and this is the thing, there's a whole bunch of Black people that are like, Hannah's anti-Black for criticizing Beyonce. No, you are anti-Black for taking Hannah's Black card because you disagree with her, and you're defending a light-skinned Black woman who is engaging in propaganda and capitalism and nationalism, and never saying anything about the bombs falling in Gaza. In fact, she allowed for her video to be played in Israel while the genocide was going on. So, like, seriously, people, like, you have to think higher. You have to zoom out. And I talk about this all the time, but that 40,000 foot view, I am so thankful for it. And 5 years ago, I probably would have gone on the whole internet and been like, okay, I'm never going to say anything again. Actually, 2 weeks ago, I probably would have seen this whole thing go down about biracials and be like, I'm never saying anything on the internet again because they all hate biracial people, and and I'm not Black enough to say it. Nah, fam. I got Black ancestors too. And y'all be sounding like white supremacists. Get it together. Get it together. my God, on today.
Meanwhile, want to tell me that I sing and speak white, but are always perpetuating white Delulu ideas.
Right, that black femme that I sent you a couple videos of last night, they were saying that they had been ostracized from the black community for going to a predominantly white institution, which is a real thing, right? And like, again, if your culture depends on excluding people, that is a harmful culture. That is the same thing that capitalism does, the same thing that religion does, the same thing that white supremacy does, the same thing that colonialism does, which is all the things that y'all claim to not want in your world anymore, to liberate the people. But then you are standing the very things that allow for that kind of cultural society to exist. But don't listen to biracial people, because we ain't got a perspective.
I think you are a bridge. I told you this privately. I'll tell you this publicly. I've said it before publicly. I think that
You have.
the people who have had to live through an experience that started for them at conception and still decide to be loving and not bitter about being in a race war in their bodies that they did not commit to or consent to is a courageous act. And I do applaud you privately and publicly for just saying what you need to say, Praolo. These black people cannot judge you. These white people can't judge you. We don't even believe in God every day. So, I used to tell people, only God can judge me. And now I'm kind of like, is he even judging me? So just live happy, healthy, and free. And let these motherfuckers who are miserable make up their opinions later. And yeah, the rating went up, folks, to R because I'm Dr. Flo. R is for radical. And these people will always try to pick at you and your beautiful tapestry of your life. They'll always try to find that little string in your beautiful tapestry and say, see, I knew you had a black daddy, or I knew you had a white mama, and I've done that to you before. Oh, that's your white mama talking. All that shit has to stop because it's Tara talking, and I can't diminish her I am because of her lineage and her ancestors. That shit's rude at base, and highly disrespectful, just for what it is. We were talking about commitments. You put me in this thing, y'all. We don't usually do this, but what did this crazy guy have to say?
Oh my goodness, y'all. Happy Thursday. I'm always thinking because thinking is very important. Critical thinking is so important. What if we are self-harming and making ourselves miserable because we really truly don't feel that we belong to ourselves or to anybody else's in-group or community? Feeling like you don't belong, saying I don't belong there, I don't belong in that group, they don't accept me there, I can't succeed there, that is actual self-harm. Because if you don't believe that you're going to belong anywhere, you're never going to belong anywhere. So you got to figure out who you belong to, who you want to play with nice in the sandbox, who you want to love on, because the people that you want to love on you too. But do not self-harm yourself today by thinking that you don't belong to yourself and to the world. You're loved and lovable. See you later.
All right, it looks like Tara's doing mommy and me things. Oh, you're back. What did my reel into the internet do to you that made you want to include me and my nakedness in? Because this has happened before I put on clothes. Yesterday or day before yesterday. What made you want to include?
I just really wanted to bring us back to the Kaya Henderson quote of crisis of belonging. And you had talked about it and I remembered it. And I think, all of these takes on biraciality and blackness and again, all of it. We've added a letter, DEI-B, right? Belonging. And I just really believe that we need to learn how to belong to each other regardless of the labels, right? And we need to belong to ourselves, as you said. And that starts for me, a lot of it, and you have said this before, you're like, you've said, well, like you'll succeed once you're no longer scared of Black people. And it's not that I'm scared of Black people. It's that I am seeking to belong, and I never know if I'm going to belong. Right? I never quite know which way that conversation is going to go. Even when I share people on threads, it's like either I'm going to get hit with like some vitriol from one of the two races, or it's going to go well and I'm going to make some new friends. I'm going to belong to that moment. And so I really think we can. Piper, do not do that. Piper. Thank you. We're being a Geronimo baby and trying to jump out of the chair again.
I had the commercial break ready for us just in case we decided
we're okay right now. But yeah, I think we can focus more on belonging. And I think those of us that are able to start recentering the idea that everybody deserves to eat. Like I disciplined someone in my comments this morning. That's not okay. That's not okay. I disciplined someone in my comment section this morning, and I got to go back in. And they are a member of an oppressed community. However, they were in my comments saying, well, you should call that person's workplace. No. Why are we doing that to people? Everyone deserves the chance to eat. If their workplace actually knows them, they'll fire them on their own. They'll do it on their own. Okay.
Because we teach here in the network that how you are in one area of your life is how you are in all areas of your life. So if they are an asshole to you, they're eventually going to piss off someone at their job and lose that too. It's fine.
Right. And so I just think that we can, back to the theme of this episode, we should call it like inclusion or something. I don't know. But we have to stop seeking to other everything that comes across our desk and instead seek to understand how they wish to belong to us and how we wish to belong to them. And it doesn't have to look the same in every relationship, in every community, and every, like, I certainly don't have the same relationship with Black Project 2025 that I do with Love and Action Network. But I can have a relationship with both, and I can belong to both. It's just dependent on what we need from each other in those moments. And yeah, I really hope that we find some more belonging and we stop all this. As people, there have been plenty of Black people that are like, y'all need to go take a nap and touch grass. Because like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Like I told you about the guy who's in your DMs this week being very rude to you and trans people. Like, are you okay, sir? Do you need like to call 988 and get some crisis counseling? Because the way in which you all try to bully people in your communities and online is just not okay. There is a better, more peaceful solution inside and outside if you want it. Leads me to the next slide. We're getting there, folks. Just ceasefire in your hearts and also consider advocating for ceasefire in the world. We don't need wars. We need food, clothing, shelter, and water to be okay. We need love and care. The reason why I'm bringing this back is because I'm a defiant person. Last week, YouTube decided to cut the audio of our programming because of this graphic right here. And I had to go to a different platform. And of course, this week I've established backups so that we're okay. But this is what Gaza looks like. Your street here in America, Tara's street and my street, and your street, watcher and listener, does not look like this. And I'm just going to continue to call us all back to our humanity. This is not okay. What we have done, the money that has been sanctioned and sent there for this happening to young women and children, young children and women and men, the destruction of many generations of people, this will outlast all of us and our children's children. The negative ramifications and the consequences of what we are witnessing. This is the first, although I call bullshit on this, this is one of our first genocides that's been televised. COVID would be another one. And you know who was president then. So it's just kind of like I'm not going to look away from harm being caused. I'm not that kind of human. I'm going to look at it and say, man, somebody died in there for nothing so that the price of military arms can go up. No one has said ceasefire, not Beyonce even as well. No one has said weapons embargo. We're just watching this happen. And I still have a heart. Maybe you all have calloused your hearts over, or what do you call it, Tara, when you like harden your heart, or like, I don't even know. But I'm not going to. It's desensitize.
Yes.
That's the word I'm looking for. I'm not going to desensitize. I know that that's a way that a lot of people like to cope with life, to get through, because the bills are still coming to you, even though this is happening. But I am not going to look away from this. I think about the people in other countries every day. They deserve our attention. They deserve for us to say, like, why, humans, are we allowing for this to just happen? And what's eerie about this, and I'll hand it over to you, Tara, for your thoughts about this. No one in my community is bringing this up first. And that really hurts. Not because I'm a soft, someone online called me a name last week that I can't recall, but it was like spineless. This doesn't hurt me because, remember that? This doesn't hurt me because I'm spineless. This hurts me because I recognize in deep empathy that everything those people are going through is something that I've gone through, and they're going through it exponentially worse. I told y'all all about Majid, who I used to work with at the firm in New York City. His village was bombed in Iran growing up, and he would tell me often about the ways in which it made him fearful as a child. I don't think that children should grow up hearing the sound of bombs over their heads. I don't think that that's okay. And I don't think it's okay that YouTube also censors this kind of content because it's unsavory for people to see. I think that the only way that unsavory and bullying things stop is when witnessed. What say you, Tara? I apologize for going this long about it, but I don't have the nightmares about this, but I think about these people always, and how if I were on the other side of the planet being carpet bombed, and the people on the opposite side of the planet had access to technology and their own television show, I would pray to Allah or God or whatever that those people who had freedom and were not being bombed would speak up for me. I would certainly hope. Now, some of y'all didn't send me commissary yesterday, so I know you don't give a damn. Tara did, though. Tara did. She sent me jail money for TikTok jail. But I'm not going to look away from these people because I've got access to a microphone and it needs to be said. What say you about what we are witnessing in our times?
I think that it is very easy, as I was saying earlier, I think it's very easy to believe that it will never happen to you. And I really hope that we can, not to scare anybody, but shift that belief and that mindset to be, if it's happening to someone else, it could happen to you, right? I mean, it's like a car accident. Like when you run across a car accident on the road, you're like, that could never happen to me. And then a couple years later, you get into a car accident and it's you. And you wish that somebody driving down the street stopped. And I think that I saw a take yesterday from Christiana Smith, and I haven't watched the whole thing because their videos are very dense, and sometimes it takes me a couple times to like actually comprehend what they're saying to me, and saying to their audience. And they were talking about how we just like don't know how to hold this, you know. And it wasn't specifically about Gaza, but it was just on that topic of like it's very hard to hold individually, and so we have to hold it collectively. And then I saw another take, which was regarding the Beyonce thing, but it was an interesting take, and I believe it was from the Reclaimed, and she was talking about how like Black Americans are so distanced from the rest of the Black diaspora, and the global South in general, and like most of us don't know anything about Black people in the global South, you know, and that would be a necessary conversation for us all to continue to heal and fight for liberation. And oopsie, are you okay, Piper? Y'all, the baby just fell on their butt. It just we're attempting to stand, and so sometimes when we fall over, we get a little scared. The baby is fine. I just want to let everybody know it's the baby is fine. Yeah, it's okay. You did good. You did good. It's okay, baby. Baby, look at me. You did good. Yeah, it was good. Here. Let's make it better. Let's make it all better. Here you go. All better. There you go. All better. Yeah, I think that Americans, and not Americans, but USians, hold a lot of privilege that we don't acknowledge. And one of our privileges is being able to turn our backs on the rest of the effing world. The entire rest of the world, even Canada. Like this person that was talking about the global South, they were like, we don't even know what Black people do in Canada. Honestly, I don't know I barely know what Black people do in Britain. Okay. I
don't think I know a single Black Canadian.
There you go. Right. So like, we don't know enough about each other to feel connection with each other. And I think that's one of the privileges of being a USian, even though we are oppressed, marginalized, global majority members, whatever you want to call it. And we are at fault too. And it's always a little bit shocking to me that, for instance, that person that was in my DMs yesterday, like, I'm always a little bit shocked when I come across people that are very heavily oppressed in this, and acknowledges their oppression and their systemic challenges and these things, and then actively actively ignores the potential liberation that would be helpful to them. Right. And for this particular person, it was supporting trans people. For other people, it needs to be learning about and supporting Gaza. What's wrong, baby? Now you're just crying to cry. But yeah, I think it's very sad that we can't just watch, because that's all the Palestinians have asked for witnesses. And a lot of us are refusing to even be that.
That's all they ask us for. The Bizons of the world, the Gaza, the Palestinian media. That's all they've asked us for, us to keep bringing this up. And I'm going to keep bringing it up. And what a horrible pivot I've got to make here from talking about Gaza into talking about our Love Revival and Academy. But this is where we are as we land the show today. So for those of you watching and listening,
it's not a horrible pivot, though, because at every Love Revival and Academy session, we will be talking about how everyone deserves to be at these places, and that means they have to be alive.
Yeah, and we're not just problem oriented people. We don't come in here just talking about all the problems of life and all the hardship that we have and things like that. We want to be solutions based. And so the Love Revival that's coming this year and the Academy is all part of that kind of joyful expression. This is a little AI photo of me this morning. We got to see ourselves stepping into these opportunities. We have to see ourselves becoming this next version. And the reason why I put this into the slide deck tonight is because a lot of us have a hard time imagining what our futures look like. We have a hard time seeing ourselves in the things we want. And with AI technologies, this one's for Meta, so it's free for everyone. We're able to go in and say, imagine me as, and I told this, imagine me as a Love Revival global choir director wearing a multicolored jacket and a crown. And this is what it came up with. This is something that I can step into. This is someone that I can, not someone I can become, but this is an idea. As we were talking about New Year ideas, these are ideas that we can actually step into if we can really visualize it and see it for ourselves. So I want to bring up the Love Revival and Academy because we're constantly these days recruiting people who want their own dreams to manifest and their own freedom. But I'm getting unapologetic in 2025 about talking about my dream. Like y'all can see the dream, it's scrolling on the screen, but being even like more bold with what I'm doing. And this is where I'm going. What say you about these AI photos that I've been putting into the internet, the Love Revival, and all of this Willy Wonka magic that I'm trying to pull out of my rear?
Well, what's funny is someone just popped up in Liberation Conversations asking about AI, and I tagged you. I said Andre in the Flow uses it more than me. So, but I think I have mixed feelings. You know this. We talked about this yesterday a little bit. But I do love AI's capability to just like give our minds a little sense of solace, settlement, visioning, right? Like for a lot of the things that you and I are building, for a lot of the things that creatives are building, there are things that like they haven't seen on themselves or in themselves or around themselves. And so like this is so important to see a diverse choir of people with crowns on, with you wearing your crown in front, that would have taken you hours to create like without AI, and it probably took you coming up with a prompt probably took a couple minutes, right? And so I think in that aspect AI is awesome. And I think that putting it, even though it's AI, it's not real, and like acknowledging that it's not real, but that's where you want to go, is like yes, more please in 2025. Like get it clear, not only in your mind, because I know it's been clear in your mind as long as I've known you, right? But it's not been clear on the internet in spaces where people can help you lift the dream. And now this
Yeah,
will just be like, oh, okay, I want to wear a crown and be in the choir with Dr. Flo, you know?
and I want to admit because it's important that we're vulnerable and transparent in our work. It's these are the qualities that people enjoy about you and I individually and collectively. It's taken a lot even now for me to hold that image on the screen and not move to the next slide. This is kind of like that's where I'm going. I haven't quite done that for myself yet. I'm putting myself, it would seem, on the hook to manifest this, but this is what it's going to take for me. I see the brilliance, you see the brilliance, let's see the brilliance together. That's the kind of courage and confidence of just saying like, this is where I'm going. You just said it so eloquently, so I don't want to like I just want to say like saying clearly, this is where I'm going is so powerful. And if you are afraid today in your own special way of saying, this is where I'm going, that's not me today. This is where I'm going. If it creates a gulp in your throat to actually express that, come closer to us or step deeper into your own personal practices, because this is my bigger pot that my life plant's going to grow into. And I could feel the tension of sharing it with y'all today. Like who wants to see an AI picture of me with a crown on? Like, it really rubbed up against my vulnerability. Like, what if it does? What if we put these things out in the world and they don't come true exactly the way? What if I don't manifest that jacket or that? There's just so many what ifs, and the doubt can creep in. I even made Praolo's face bigger for a moment. Like, let's put the camera on her so people don't have to like people don't have to stare at. Nice. That'll get us some donations. Oh, very nice, folks. Very nice, very nice. Lovedandlovable.bio.link to pay for that little show. That's the burlesque part of Love and Action Network. Right there. That's as far as Paolo goes. But anyway, all to say, there are spaces that we must step into. And I'm happy to be able to share these spaces with y'all. Please continue to stay as close as you want to it. We're going to have fun. All right, we've gotten to the end of this. Some people are going to run out the room, but others will stay for our announcements. Tara is co-chairing a program with me right now called Adopt a Black Artist. I'll make this bigger so I can read it on the teleprompter. Fridays on our platform, we will promote a Black artist. We'll provide a donation link and what they want and need in this moment. If you cannot give monetarily to a Black artist, consider free options like sharing, liking, commenting, saving, nominating an artist, and promoting on your own platforms. If you're out there and you know of a deserving Black or brown artist that wants to move forward, we would love for you to nominate them or send them in our direction. It's free 99 to participate. We want to simply see people grow their dreams, especially if they're not getting the shine that we know that they deserve. Tara Paolo and her studio right now is currently looking to sponsor a student. She had a family that has fallen on, y'all know my catch-all word is interesting. They've fallen on interesting and difficult times financially, but the kids are super talented and want to remain in Tara's programs. I've contributed to this out of my personal cachet. So $200 a month will keep this family of students in her studio in the program. Donate through her link in bio. Find her at Tara Paolo Studio. And we would love to keep these kids in music. People in my past, when I was a little young warthog, contributed to my musical education. And so we just want to keep that energy going. We want to make sure that everyone has access to the tools they need to express their joy and their freedom, including the kids. So consider donating today if you got a few extra apples in your apple cart. I'm hiring right now. I have come into some recent campaign funds to lift the business and to continue going forward. And so we're going to be officially able to continue to work with our volunteer staff, but also pay people to help us expand and also pay for the services that help us expand. If you're interested in being part of the booking team, working in the band, dancing, perhaps even coming and co-presenting on this podcast with us, we're looking for you. Diverse artists to celebrate the power of love through music, theater, and art. Of course, Tara's here. I'm here. Poppy's here. We're looking to grow and expand. If you're interested in coming on, volunteer or paid, let us know at lovedandlovable.bio.link, 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 and submit your materials. We would love to see you in the hiring process and also in our auditions. If you're looking to release your voice in the ways that Tara and I have done today, courageously and fearlessly, I'm right now teaching free master classes daily, either through online services or through replays. Feel free to go to our website as well to tap in. Right now, our areas of discipline are business, performance, And we're doing a bunch of mindset coaching right now, especially in the top of the year. So go to our websites individually and collectively and tap in if you'd like to grow with us. We would really like to grow with you. I'm Andre in the Flow on all platforms. Just say hello. Remember, every manifestation of your dream starts with a hello. Y'all try to complicate it. The first word I said to my partner, my baby daddy, was hello. The first word you probably said to your partner was hello. The first word you said to someone interviewing you on a job was hello. Remember that the first step to your dream begins with clear and confident communication, and that always starts with a hi. If you're interested in growing in that way, let us know. All right, closing thoughts are that we are so grateful that you are here. We're so grateful that you have chosen to share your magic with us. The mom has appeared back again. I was about to take us out here. What are your closing thoughts in addition to mothering a child?
I hope y'all continue to open your hearts and your minds, and you do say hello, because we have to talk to each other and we have to belong to each other. Yeah. Include instead of exclude. That's all
I want to thank you, Olo, for belonging to me and allowing me to belong to you. I want to thank all of you who are watching over on our Substack vlog and also listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you're listening today. We get thousands of people listening every month, hundreds watching. If you're out there and you are belonging to us, just know that we also belong to you. Our message is very, very simple. It will be this for the next 25 years. You're loved and lovable. You've always been loved and lovable. You're always going to be loved and lovable. Tara cannot change that about you. I cannot change it about you. You cannot change it about us. We have a limited amount of time left on the planet, and so we can just help each other be the best versions of ourselves that we can be every day. And just stay in community, because community is safety. Community is healing. Community is uplifting. Community is going to save us in the end. So on behalf of Tara Parolo Studio, Poppy Water 33, awesome Angie, my president of my fan club, and everybody else within Love and Action Network, stay in your power, stay in your joy, stay loved and lovable, and we'll see you next week on Love and Action Deconstruction Junction.